about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen Podcast.
And we're back. The you know what? Before I start this whole podcast, I'm depressed. Fuck.
Let it out.
I've been holding this in for 12 days now, however many days it's been since December 29th. I've avoided talking about it. It's one of those things.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
It's I don't. People ask me, "Oh, what happened?" And I just don't talk about it. I'm a mush. That 2018, I was the biggest mush of them all. It started in August. I backed Hannah for that fight at Rough and Rowdy, and she lost in a controversial decision. I backed the Yankees trying to win the World Series. They lost. Notre Dame, they lost. Every major event that I've put my name out there on, they've lost. I bought GE stock. GE, too big to fail.
And for those of us in the finance world like me, it is absolutely tumbled.
That is the only logical conclusion that I can make about this. I am a mush. So
I'm going to need you to start rooting for the Patriots. I will pay you every year. I will pay you to be a Patriots fan.
Oh, and to top it all fucking off, I was a Bears supporter this year. All right. That's that. Welcome to the podcast. We are back.
Wow.
And I do have some good news, though, now that I got that all off my chest. It is the year 2019, the year of our Lord 2019, and the Notre Dame football team is undefeated. Thank you. So
metrics.
Yeah, we have more non-losses than Alabama does. So with that, we all know what happened. It sucked. It wasn't fun. And this is the first time we could get together and talk about it because I was going through the grieving process. So let's get into it. Happy New Year, everyone. I know it's whatever, this is going to be 10 days late by the time you're hearing this. But Notre Dame lost to Clemson 30-3. And I want to hear from you guys. Dylan, what's your takeaway about December 29th?
Well, I can say that I grieved the same way any Irish person would. I immediately started drinking and tried to forget it. So, wow. It was bad. It hurt. It really hurt to watch. My dad was working, so he had to tape it and watch it 2 days later. And I had to watch him watch it. Yeah. And it was it was just terrible.
You let him watch that snuff film?
I had to. I couldn't spoil it. But there's some, I don't know. It's hard to really articulate how I think we all feel on it because we were so brutally destroyed. At least they beat Alabama by a wider margin. I think that's pretty cool. And I think the Notre Dame support was pretty cool at the game. But other than that, fucking Notre Dame loses a big one on the national stage again. That's pretty much it.
Steve?
Yeah, stop me if you've heard that one before. I think out of anything, this game gave me a lot of hope for the future, and we're definitely going to have a lot of future of this Irish team talk throughout this podcast, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get into the whole suicidal, down in the dumps, the whole world is falling apart. We should hype Steve. It fucking blew. The first 16, 17, 18 minutes of that game were awesome. Because obviously it was competitive. It was tied, fighting back and forth. And Julian, and just the wheels fell off. And what was it, like 6 minutes of game time is all it took that for them to go up 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
And the next thing I knew, it went from like jumping up and down and celebrating on every single play to I was just sitting down in a computer chair, 6 feet inch TV, just staring at it thinking, what the fuck just happened to my life? Like, it was instant. And it really, really just sucked the soul out. So it was brutal to watch, but the first just about 20 minutes of that game opened a lot of promise, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, that's my initial thought.
I had people checking in on me, making sure I was okay, and I think I was. I sat on the corner of my couch, and after they went up those 3 touchdowns, I just sat there, just blindly staring at the screen, hoping something would change. And it didn't. But it happens. I think it's bullshit that they said Julian Love was in concussion protocol and they couldn't get him back on the field. Yeah, I get brain health's important and all that, but like, have the doctor have some common sense. If he passed all the tests, but he had a little bit of a problem on one of the tests, 4 out of 5 is good enough. That's 80%. Put him back in. So that's my piece. I know I'm probably being a selfish person for that, but I don't care. All I want's a national championship. And being part of Notre Dame petty Twitter was my favorite thing during the national championship game. I didn't watch the game, but being able to clap back on Alabama fans was so much fun. But really staying with the game, it appears the Horseman curse is dead for this year. When 2 curses go up against each other, one has to come out on top. 4 out of 5 ain't bad. Trevor Lawrence has killed my curse. Congratulations, Trevor. See you in 2020. And I thought the run game was abysmal. Kind of a quick recap of the game. I thought the passing game, running screens on 3rd and long, was stupid. But Newsome was a bright spot. Yoon has the only points of the game. And they'll have long NFL careers. So not much really to take away when, turnovers don't go our way. Clemson was really good at attacking the ball, and good for them. So putting the pin in that, 2018's done. And we are on to Louisville.
Yeah. That game, I tweeted this. It was very similar to the Alabama game way back when there was about 3 or 4 key moments in the game that broke the other way, and then the floodgates opened, and we're just not a good enough team to overcome that. I mean, if that ball that's fumbled on the kick return stays in bounds and is ruled in bounds.
It did
It
stay
was in
in bounds.
bounds.
Yeah, but called on the field, ruled in bounds. we would have had the ball inside the 15. Tied
It was
3-3.
legitimately the 25 at the furthest.
So that's one. Books fumbles, another. Julian Love getting hurt. But at the end of the day, we scored 3 points. It was awful. Book was really not good. The run game, I don't think really stuck with it too much because we had a little bit of success with it. I don't know. The first quarter was good. It was tied 3-3. Notre Dame had controlled the pace and won the field position. Right, we were getting the ball at the 50. They were getting the ball at the 10. It looked like we were possibly going to kind of maybe take a lead at some point. It looked like we could hang with them. We were stopping them. Our defense was
We
doing a
almost
better
did
job
take
than
the lead.
Alabama.
We
Yeah,
almost did take the lead. It was tied 3-3, and what's his name? Book threw a deep post help, and to Miles Boykin, and he just underthrew it by maybe 2.5 yards. If he threw it a yard and a half further into the end zone, then Boykin had his man beat, and he has obviously the length to go get the ball. Would have been a touchdown. Would have been 10-3 at that point, Notre Dame. But he just underthrew it a little bit. Corner was able to catch up and break up the pass, so that's why we ultimately didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just kind of breaks like that just didn't go our way. And I can't remember another game where just nothing went our way since the Alabama championship game. It was the same kind of thing where just nothing is going your way. All the review calls went the other side, and most of them were correct, but still.
And even, I'm going to stop you there. Even the bullshit coin toss. Oh, here's a coin. Notre Dame, you're on this side. Clemson, you're on this side. Who the hell does that? It's not the Super Bowl. So that bullshit ref, let Notre Dame pick tails or heads. I don't care what they pick. Notre Dame should have chose the coin flip. Sorry. Continue.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm just trying to dissect the game from what I can remember, right? Because I'm not looking at it. I'm not looking at tape. I'm not looking at stats. I refuse to.
Nope.
I haven't since 6 years later. I still haven't looked at the Alabama game. So, yeah, it was rough. It was not a good look for Notre Dame. Our fans are getting ridiculously abused, like always, unfairly. We're held to a higher standard than other fans. Oklahoma is 0-3 in the playoff. Don't hear anything about them. Alabama just lost by 28 in a championship game, the worst loss since they beat Notre Dame by 28. And there's been jokes, but I really doubt people are going to hold it over Alabama's head forever. So, yeah, it was just shit. And I mean, Clemson, good for them. They were the best team this year. They proved that. But you really feel bad because you know how hard it is to get here, especially if you're Notre Dame. You know, Pete, you said you just want to win championships. I don't know if that's what the university wants. It's hard. They make it hard on themselves. And the fact that we got 2 10-win seasons in a row is unbelievable. It hasn't been done, I don't think, since Lou Holtz's time. So I hope the future looks good, but to get back to that spot and have it within your grasp, I just don't know when we're going to see that again.
2019.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 88, 89, obviously, national title in 88 when we had back-to-back 10 winners. 93, obviously, we should have won the title that year. I don't think 94 we had 10 wins,
no.
but yeah, I mean, if getting into kind of one stat that obviously jumps out, and this was just everyone that kept chirping me, everyone that kept talking shit and just, you guys got blown out, you guys got blown out. See, I'm on the other end, and this is why I'm a little bit hopeful, because this doesn't feel like, to me, subjectively, does not feel like a 2012 year. 2012, I was in Vermont with some friends in a log cabin, and obviously I was getting chirped by all my friends. I was sitting on the couch watching the game, and within 11 minutes, I was like, well, what the fuck just happened? Game was over. Not even within 11 minutes. It was over within 8 minutes. It was 14-0 before I could even take my first piss. So we just had the doors blown off us. We were getting thrown around on the line of scrimmage. Eddie Lacy and whoever else were literally just barreling through Manti Te'o and the rest of that defense in 2012. We did a chance in hell. And the talent gap in that game was so far. If you looked at the first 25 minutes of this game, Notre Dame Clemson, when it was still tied 3-3 until Julian Love got off the field, tie game, game of inches, game of field position. We were literally a millimeter away from a ball being fumbled that we recovered. We have the ball, and at the very least, we're kicking and taking the lead 6-3. An underthrown pass by a couple of yards, it would have been like a 35, 40-yard touchdown pass, just slightly underthrown. I mean, Ian Book did not play well at all. But it just felt like as long – and I can highlight a stat in a second, but with our starters on the field, with everybody healthy, And we would have probably still lost this game 17-10, 20-10, 17-6, something along those lines is what it felt like it would have ended had we had a fully healthy team. But obviously Julian Love went out and the floodgates opened. Dante Vaughn with an abysmal performance. So to highlight that specifically.
He should find another sport to play.
Curling.
I'll just say that Dante Vaughn, rugby is a totally optional and good option for you.
Yeah.
Probably blow there too.
Trevor Lawrence in the 6 series with Julian Love, first team All-American, and Thorpe runner-up, future first-round pick. 6 series with Julian Love in the game. Lawrence was 12 for 19, which is over 50%. It's pretty decent. He had only 80 yards on 12 completions. It's like not great. Not great at all. All right. So then we had Julian Love obviously come out. He was out for 5 series total. In those 5 series, 15 for 18 for 247 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was mechanical what he did to Dante Vaughn. What he did to Dante Vaughn, what Trevor Lawrence was able to do, and you don't take anything away from that kid because he is fucking incredible. It just goes to show how valuable Julian Love was, and we were getting to them, man. We were getting to them. Alohi Gilman had 2 hits, one against Travis Etienne and one against Trevor Lawrence. And when both of those players got up after a Alohi Gilman hit right in the fucking chest, those guys looked like they did not want to play football anymore. We had them on their heels. We were punishing them. We were sacking them. We were getting to Lawrence. We were the run game. Everything was going well. And again, I'm not saying like this means that we would have won had Julian Love been in the game. I think, because our offense did not play well at all, we probably would have lost by anywhere from 7 to 13 points. But it's a totally different conversation than, oh, this game was 30-3. You guys fucking suck. And then consequently, 7, Alabama loses by 28. Haha, fuck you, Alabama. I hope you all die. So that's it's just I think this is different this year. It felt like we were competing. It feels like the talent gap has definitely closed, and that's why I'm bright on the future. I'm done talking.
Yeah. It was a much more competitive game. If you don't mind me, Pete, just getting a word in. Clearly, Julian Love was the turning point, but I don't know, just for statistical purposes, we can't attribute all of that wholly on him, right? There was other injuries. It's quite plausible that Clemson kind of started figuring out the scheme. But yeah, for the most part, that's how good Julian Love is. But they did start targeting other people with success. So I can't say it's 100% Julian Love before and Julian Love after. But when you lose a player that good in a game where you were having success against a really good quarterback, it sucks. And I think you're right. I think we were more competitive. I mean, the game wasn't completely over in the first quarter like it was in 2012. Similar score blowout at the end, but yeah, I mean, Notre Dame was good for part of that game, but it's hard to take away positives from it for me, just because it's just rolled over and died right after that. It just shows that we lack a lot of depth, and that we don't know how to play from behind against a good team.
Yeah, all those points were valid, and really, there's not much left to say about what happened. We all seen it, and we've all argued it, but don't let this detract from the fact that Alabama lost by 28. So there's that. Did either of you watch the national championship?
I
Not
said
a
I wasn't.
single second.
Yeah, I said I wasn't for the principle of it because I'm fed up of seeing our sport ruined by those 2 fucking programs. But once Clemson started winning, I kind of put it on to see how it kind of would finish. And thrilled. I mean, I do like Clemson when we're not playing them. I mean, they're not. I don't think the greatest program to mimic yourself after in terms of drug testing. But for the most part, I mean, they're a likable team.
Can I cut you off there real quick? I'm half an idiot. Just gonna put that out there. You've listened to me for 18 episodes. You all know that. I didn't realize that Dexter Lawrence, that's him. He's fat. I mean, he's 300 something pounds. But for a guy who was taking a fat loss, muscle building steroid, he has a fat face. So he's not the poster child for Austrian, I can tell you that.
Well,
Asking for a friend. Just quickly, asking for a friend who might be a little bit overweight because he sits 35 hours a week in an office and went from having washboard six-pack abs to being a little bit too chubby. Where can I find Osterine? Asking for a friend.
We will take this offline. But anyway, also get a standing desk. Those really do help. And recommendation, Horseman pod, whatever we call ourselves. Recommendation, workout for 2019. 50 squats in the shower, 50 calf raises every morning or whenever you shower. Very easy to do. We're going to have quads of steel and calves of more steel.
I can't recommend doing exercise in a slippery shower, but
it builds your core stability too.
This is just a scheme for sad Notre Dame fans to get you to kill yourself because that's what we want to feel. That's all this is.
No, but
I do want to die. It's actually one of my goals for 2019.
What?
It's right on there. Die.
No, but I've been doing that, and my calves have never looked better. I'm going to start wearing capris, just showing off the calves at all times. Dylan, give us a on this unrelated segue. Tell us how we did on our bowl predictions.
Bad. We did really, really bad. At least compared to other people that joined. So we had a working hypothesis that college football is completely fucking random and that people who are experts in the sport don't even know. And I'm not saying we're experts, but we're certainly more experts than my girlfriend, who doesn't watch
The
any
general
college
population,
football,
yeah.
who picked based kind of on the state she liked a little more or whatever connection she might have had.
Has she ever been to the United States?
Yeah, she's been there a few times. So
What's a Canadian passport look like?
it's blue. So that's that. I can show you one sometime, but not on the podcast. So she not only won the damn thing, she fucking crushed us. And this is a non-college football fan. So I'll give you the final tally here. So Steve finished last. He got 19 out of 38 for 50%. Good for him. I mean, I think that's a pretty fair score for the bowl season. I mean, the bowl season's pretty hard.
Hey, I have a higher completion percentage than Brandon Wimbush.
You do, and that's really sad. And I really don't think Brandon Wimbush was a good quarterback. Steve was last, and then P-Wagon, you were very close to tying me, although we both picked Alabama in the final, probably because I just want to preserve my lead over you. But you went 20 for 39, 51%. Steve took one less game because he refused to pick between Notre Dame and Clemson, but still last. P-Wagon second, and then second last. And then me, I finished second overall. I went 21 for 39 for 54%. I mean, we were all within one pick of each other. I started off 9 and 10. It looked like I was basically money, and then the wheels fell off big time. And then our leader would be my girlfriend, who went 24 for 39 for 62%. I mean, that's even good, I think, by the standards of some top-level experts. So I think maybe our hypothesis is somewhat confirmed that college football is just random nonsense, or we're either really, really dumb. So I'm going to let you guys decide which one of those two is true.
It's like a Bandersnatch. Choose your own adventure. You pick if we're dumb or college football is random. Leave it below in the comments, guys. We're not a YouTube podcast.
Yeah, the only one I'm truly regretting is not actually knowing that Urban Meyer was going to coach the bowl game. That's why I picked Washington. So hand up, that's on me.
Yeah, I just picked teams, and I'm not good at it. Again, no good segue. Also a tip. If you are trying to get into shape for 2019, every time Alabama let up a touchdown in the national championship game, put it on your TV. Do 5 push-ups. You'll be doing a lot of push-ups. Anyway, moving on. Players leaving. I'm going to get all of us fit, all 41 of you who average listen every week. We're all going to be ripped by the time Notre Dame puts it to Brian Van Gorder and the Louisville defense. Players leaving. We know it's Brandon Wimbush. He's gone. Love's gone. Boykin's gone. And then we have all the seniors who are leaving as well. To start, we also know that Jalen Hurts is in the transfer portal. That's breaking as of today. Where do you think Wimbush is going to end up?
Well, he's not going to be going to Ohio State because Justin Fields transferred there.
But Justin Fields, is he going to start over Tate Martell?
It doesn't matter. Brandon Wimbush isn't good enough to play for Ohio State. I was thinking something like maybe Rutgers, like not a good school. He's going to be a middle back.
No,
if he's lucky, he'll get to a Power 5.
He would have been fine to start there if it was a transition year where they had like a red-shirted freshman. And it's like, all right, we'll go with Wimbush for this 1 year, and then we'll have somebody else next year. But I don't know. West Virginia is intriguing.
I like Penn State.
Penn State. A lot of he's from the New Jersey area, and a lot of New Jersey and a lot of Philly kids basically go to Penn State.
He was signed to Penn State before he went to Notre Dame, if I recall correctly. So that's interesting. But
I don't know. I mean,
yep, you're making a face that I don't know, just so the listeners can understand what's going on this video chat. Look, I think the ins and outs has not been a win for Notre Dame. Boykin could have stayed, and I think Love could have stayed. I'm not ragging on them for leaving. I understand it. But that's not what you were hoping for. You were hoping to get some of these stars back like Clemson did last year. I'm a little surprised with Love just because he's not really slated to be a first rounder, and I don't think he ever really was. He could end up sneaking in there when people finally watch his tape and see how damn good he is. And then Boykin, I understand because he's graduated. But, he's not going to be a high draft pick either, and I always kind of think that going back for your next year to improve your draft status is a good thing. But I mean, they have their personal reasons. Good for both of them. I'll cheer for both of them in the NFL as long as they're not, directly playing my team. But it's not good overall. You really wanted one of them to come back. We did win with Julian Okwara, right? He came back, and I believe another person on the D line is coming back as well. That's great. We're going to need that. Our linebackers are both gone, so Tranquil and Coney. We'll still have Bilal there, but he's the rover. Our two interior defensive linemen are gone, Tillery and Bonner. Tillery is going to be, again, a top 60 draft pick.
I'll go to the Chargers first round.
We have Troy Pride coming back, which will be good. Tariq Bracy showed signs. Gilman's the next big one. If Gilman stays, it looks better. If Gilman leaves, holy fuck, we did not.
He already announced on Twitter that he's going to stay. Yeah.
He's big on graduate. A lot of Hawaiians, and this is probably typecasting the whole population, but whatever. They like to graduate places. If you notice that Monte Teo graduated, obviously Gilman's going to graduate. Tua's probably going to stay and graduate. So that's something. That's just a cool fact.
Yeah. I'm just kind of going through our defense because it was great, and we're losing a lot of talent, like a lot.
But you're going to rebuild so quickly with the defensive line, and the program that they have. We saw in a few games when you did have those key players out, you're going to get better players in. Tillery, it was a monster, but he also had times we had to survive the time where he thought he was an all-world player when he was just a mediocre, human. The USC game comes to mind 3 years ago when he stomped on someone. So I definitely think they can reload quicker on the defense because you just have athletes.
I'm worried about the linebackers specifically. I mean, the two that kind of quarterback the defense, so to speak. Yeah. I think offensively we'll have a better time because we have a lot of receiving prospects, so losing Boykin sucks. But Notre Dame they've done a really good job of just getting receivers out of nowhere, and they kind of have a flash season. Fuller, Equimini St. Brown.
And we're basically gonna have the entire offensive line back. We are gonna who graduated, who was the left guard?
Bars.
Bars, yeah,
Alex
just Bars.
Bars, who I thought could have played his way up to a first round pick this year. Obviously his bad injury sidelined him, but that was the thing, is he got injured, and then all of a sudden Aaron Banks came in at left guard, who was a redshirted freshman. He's now going to be going in redshirted sophomore. So he's had plenty of time to develop physically, mentally, and the other 4 guys on the line are all going to be returning starters, all juniors and seniors. So I think the line will markedly improve.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is the offense would have an easier time with the turnover because the offensive line is staying the same, which I believe was the case in 2012 too, with that amazing offensive line they had, and even I think last season as well. Most of the guys came back, so we'll have a very good offensive line. I think that's just the way it is in college football. The more games you play, the better the line gets. I think Boykin's replaceable. I think Claypool's probably a better player talent-wise. Next year, you'll probably see him replace that production. Young looks great. Fink, whatever his name is, might come back. If not, I mean, we have lots of guys. I'm not too worried about that. The quarterback's coming back, and then we have 2 good running backs still there. Obviously, losing Dex isn't great, but I mean, he's not the number 1 overall draft pick. He's
thing I'm
replaceable.
gonna miss most about Dexter Williams is how excited he gets over stuff on Instagram. If you follow him on his stories, and I mean, he's a great player, all that stuff, but whenever he sees something even moderately interesting, he just is so impressed. And just follow him on Instagram. It is, and you'll start noticing it about everything, and it is hilarious. So give him a follow.
Right. No, he's great, but that's the thing with running backs, and we're starting to see that a little more data, is it's a lot determined by the offensive line and your scheme and your receivers and your passing attack. So I'm not too worried about there. We know Jafar Armstrong's really talented. We know Jones is as well.
Tony Jones.
Yeah, so I think the offense will be fine. I am worried about the defense. I know we recruited well, but replacing a lot of tough guys, and that was our strength last year. So Jalen Elliott's coming back, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did have some extra time at work, and I was able to, and I sent this to you guys, was able to fire off a depth chart, basically. And this is obviously preliminary. Who knows who's going to slot into what position, but, Ian Book, redshirted junior. So he's a senior in the classroom coming back. Tony Jones, he's a junior. Jafar Armstrong, he's a redshirted sophomore, his 3rd year in the program. Even Avery Davis is going to get some time. And we have a ton of talent at wide receiver. It kind of stunk to see Boykin go because we had some great memories with him. But I think overall this is going to be a net positive. Not that he wasn't talented, he certainly was. But the thing was, I think in that game against Clemson, what stood out is that we didn't have an explosive wide receiver. You have 6'5" guys on either side that aren't exactly the best with 40 times or acceleration. So when you have 2.5, 3 seconds tops for Ian Book to make a throw, and you have these long routes that they're running, such as a post or an out, if you can't get it, if you can't get off the line of scrimmage, if you can't break away with separation, of course there's that Ian Book's going to panic. So I think that it's going to help that Kevin Austin, who's he's around 6'3", I believe. He's going to slot in as a true sophomore next year, starting on one side. The other side is going to be Claypool, who's 6'5". So that way you have the big body. Then you have a guy who's still decent size, but a little bit more explosive. Then you'll have Chris Fink in the slot, who's fro. And right behind him is going to be Lawrence Keys, who there's been a lot of people impressed with him. He's a 5'10" guy. He's going to be a redshirted freshman, next season.
Can we call him Larry? Larry Keys.
Sorry?
Larry Keys. I love that name.
Yeah. Yeah,
Lawrence is too hard to
so
spell.
hopefully, I think that depth from the last is going to start to show through, and this was obviously our problem in the national title game, which we had no depth at corner and a few other positions. Offensive line is going to be really awesome. So offense, as we all mentioned, like we're not really worried in that aspect. We think there's some positive things to come. Defensive line, we're going to have Khalid Kareem and Julian Aquara both returning for their senior years. Behind them, Dalen Hayes is going to be in there. Myron Tagliavola Amosa, he's a redshirted sophomore. He's his cousin. He's going to be taking over as defensive tackle for Jerry Tillery. He's pretty friggin' good. He needs some time to develop into top tier talent. Let's hope he develops quickly. And then as for it will be the same secondaries as last year, just sub Dante Vaughn for Julian Love. And to be frank, Tariq Bracy might play his way into the starting role after what we saw in the last game they played. But the linebacker position, yes, there is going to be a dip because we had two unbelievable players in Drew Tranquil and Coney. But we're going to have Shane Simon coming in. He's going to be playing the Rover most likely. It's likely that Amar Bilal is going to move from Rover to the Buck. And then as for the Mike, which is the weak side linebacker, it's looking like it's going to be Bo Bauer. But we also have Jack Lamb, who is a redshirted freshman. He basically missed the season to injury from bench pressing. But he was very highly touted. He was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school. So we've built the depth at each position. And don't forget Jordan Genmar Keith, who's going to be fighting for a role on this team, who's a redshirted junior. So there's a lot of depth.
Didn't Lamb get hurt in the All-American game? Or he got hurt
he did.
again?
So he got hurt. He got hurt in the spring, and then in the summer, he got a chest injury. I think he probably cracked a couple of ribs.
Wow.
So and he ended up missing 8 games because of it. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of depth now going forward. It just sucks because yes, we have more depth, but that also we've taken a dip in what our top tier talent can do, if that makes sense simultaneously. Last year would have been the year to cash in all of the chips, but so now we're still kind of in a rebuild. So looking forward to next year's schedule which looks to be daunting already. I'm thinking maybe 10-2, which if we can go 10 and have 10 wins in 3 consecutive seasons, sign me up.
I mean, that's what everyone said about this schedule this year, and everyone was predicting 10-2 at best. I'm not going to make predictions ahead of time. For all we know, Georgia could fall off the face of the earth. Michigan is going to lose a lot of defensive talent. I'm not overly scared by that schedule. Obviously, the game in Athens is the big one. We can't play in Michigan for some reason, just like they can't play at Notre Dame. But, I mean, I think we're a better team than Michigan. We'll have the better quarterback, and I think that could be the difference. It's too early to call. I don't know if you guys remember, but our first podcast, we talked about freshmen to look forward to. And now that I think about it, I don't think we've really seen enough from any of them, which probably is a good thing that we didn't need to rely on any freshmen this year. But I was just thinking about that. How about some of these players didn't really get a lot of game time?
Yeah, and just ask a stupid question. Does anyone know why we have a bye after Louisville and before New Mexico?
New Mexico's a tough team.
Like a week 2 bye just seems ridiculous.
September must have an extra month or an extra week in the month.
No, you know what it is? You're all hearing how my brain works right now. Monday, September 2nd, it's a Monday. September 2nd is a Monday. They're going to get that like 8 p.m. Labor Day game. Labor Day is spelled with an O-R, not a U.
No, there's a U. There's a U. I can tell you the history of why you guys pronounce things wrong, but whatever.
But no. So Notre Dame gets a Monday game, a bye week, and then they play New Mexico. That's my whole Labor Day weekend's ruined now because I have to watch Notre Dame on a Monday instead of a Saturday. All right, well, Anyway,
Can I say something
Yes.
for all the viewers at home and for both of you guys? If you want to feel happy after just the abomination that happened, go to USC football. Look at their 2019 schedule, and they will be 1-5 when they come into South Bend. It is hilarious. They are going to be so bad that we might relegate them to the WNBA or something.
And the one thing that we didn't talk about while I'm pulling up that schedule to talk about is the specialist. Jay Bramblitt's coming in. He'll be the punter. We do need to replace the kicker in Yoon because our kickoff man.
Don't worry, we have Jonathan Dorr.
We don't say that name on this podcast. I won't even say his name until he can prove he can kick a ball straight. But we do have another kid out of Cheshire, Connecticut, preferred walk-on. He's pretty good, 3-star, I think, maybe a 2.5, one of those low rankings. But he's a preferred walk-on. He'll challenge Dorr for the starting spot. And I'm really excited to see 5 push-ups. Okay, we're looking at the USC schedule. Before you got into that, I just wanted to do one last segment of our farewell to our seniors. So for Jerry Tillery, the 2 linebackers, Tranquil and why am I drawing a blank? Tavon Coney, to Miles Boykin, who.
This Like Jazz segment is brought to you by Steve being an idiot and playing a copyrighted song, Goodbye My Lover. Next week on the podcast, we'll have him singing it in full, a cappella, or he can make up his own words. Either way, that's why we have this segment in right now. Thank you.
And we'll do
No, it was under 30 seconds. It's just a sample. It's under 30 seconds. So goodbye, our lovers. Good luck in the NFL to those of you making it to the NFL. And for you, Brandon Wimbush, good luck wherever you land. And
real quick, USC has Fresno State, Stanford, BYU, Utah, and Washington.
Yeah, they might not win a game.
Fresno State
is good.
Good.
They're good.
Wow, that's going to be a rough one. And they don't have Cliff Kingsbury.
That was funny.
So, real quick recap. I don't know what we're going to be doing in the offseason. Obviously, if something Notre Dame related does come up, Ultra Denson leaving, something like that, hypothetically.
Draft. We'll
draft. If we get a recruit on here, if we can figure out how not to break clearinghouse rules, we'll do that. We'll jump on periodically. Over this season, this ragtag group of people who didn't know each other at the start was able to garner through 17 episodes 702 plays. So that's 41 per podcast. We made $2 in advertisement dollars. So watch out, world. That's like less than $1 a person. And other than that, I think even though we did lose Joe, we are open to a 4th horseman coming in for next year. Maybe we'll do a guest. I don't know. But this was kind of a crack idea that we just threw out in August, and it came to fruition. I want to thank everyone for being along with the ride, downloading us, rating us 5 stars, subscribing, reviewing, and arguing with us on Twitter. Even though none of you ever said anything about the podcast, I'm looking at you, Tony. So, with that being said, Tony Demidov, I don't
think our draft friend Brad spread it either. So you might have to get on him for that.
He didn't. I had a talk with him. He has a contract, so having people under contract, it's a little bit difficult. But other than that, be sure to keep up with us. We will begin to some antics over the off season, and that's what I got. Any last words while we kill the 2018 season? Put a book in it. Bookmark.
I don't know. We can come back every now and then just to talk. People like listening to us because we are kind of funny.
All I'm muted. Oh, I'm not muted.
It was.
And,
It was. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You guys are acting weird. But yeah, it was a good season, boys. We had a good one. The Irish went 12-0. P. Wagon looks to be in a very intense conversation. Yeah, it was fun doing this. It started off as a wacky idea P had, and we lost a man. I think he's dead. But
We miss you, Joe. Come back. If
This
you
might
are
be-
listening. Might be
dangerous.
Inside the actor studio, we're opening the curtain for all of you listeners. Every week when I invite Steve and Dylan to this, I've also included Joe, and he's never answered.
Yeah, he's dead for sure.
So I don't know what happened to him. Joe, the first 48, we lost him. It's a cold case now. So, Joe, if you listen to this, check your spam folders because that's probably where my invites are. But this did start as a crazy idea. I had no idea how to record a podcast before we started this. Even up to the first episode, I was asking Steve how to record.
And now we all
thanks-
have microphones that are beautiful and we can all talk.
Thanks for the ride, Steve. Any last words?
Signing off, and for the last time for the 2018-2019 season, thank you, everyone, and go Irish.
Go Irish.
Yep.